just grateful that I had BMX in my life. I'm grateful to Ernie Alexander from the NBA who gave us a place to race. For Merle and Gene from the ABA who gave us a place to race. Bob Tedesco from the NBL gave us a place to race, and now I am so grateful to the USA BMX sanctioning body, because not only do they give me a place, but now they give me the opportunity to pass it back again. So you gotta give credit to where credit is due. We couldn't be doing this. I couldn't be doing this on my own.
Yeah.
It's part of a family, and the USA BMX helps provide that opportunity for me and for my community.
BMX Breakthrough is bridging the gap from old school to new school, from tracks to manufacturers, from new riders to their local tracks, and it doesn't stop at racing, but the mission is to connect people with bikes. Join me, Jay Oaks, as I interview key people in the sport and in the industry that are involved in their local circles, in their communities, at their local tracks, and aiming to make a difference on a local level. You'll hear stories, marketing tips, failures, successes, and a way to make a difference in your local BMX community. Let's dive in as we kick off this next episode. Yeah, Mike Miranda, I am so excited to have you on the show. I'm honored, flattered, just so thankful. It is so cool to get to talk to you. And I think we got to meet last year at DirtyFest, and it's been a good time since then.
Amen, Jay. I'll tell you what, man, you are an inspiration to me. I love what you're doing. I love what you're about. I really love the message that you're bringing to the audience. So when you invited me, there was no way I was not going to do this, because I think you and I are probably two peas in a pod, my man.
I think so. Other than the fact that I was not in the movie Rad, I have not had a video part yet. So,
I've lived a charmed life my entire life. I've been lucky my whole life, and I continue to be today. The fact that my sponsor at the time, Hutch, said, "No, don't go do that. That's dumb. You can go do another race or something," not knowing that this would end up being a big part of my life, meaning the movie Rad.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
funny.
really cool. Way to push through. Way to push them down.
Yeah, well, I've always kind of done things my own way anyway.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah, sometimes the craziest ideas are the best ones.
It's true. Yeah. And sometimes the best ideas come out of boredom and being up against the time deadline. And it's amazing what can be done when you when limitations are put around things and you come up with things. But
well, can I ask you a question to start this off? Can you tell me what motivated you to do this episode, but to do your podcast and the subject matter of your podcast?
Oh man. Well, thank you for asking. That is super cool. I would love to answer that. So a quick backstory on it is I raced as a kid, took 20 years away from racing, and came back in. I had spent time riding, doing freestyle, skate park, mountain biking, and came back into racing. It would have been late spring of 22. And we were in Southern California, went out to the Lancaster track, started racing, and my kids fell in love with it. And which is so cool. So much fun to have kids that just love racing and love being on their bikes. And they had loved being at the skate park prior to that. But then I believe it was June 4th of 22, my dad and I went to the BMX Society event in Carson, California, where Bob Osborne was being given a Lifetime Achievement Award. And at that, I realized that there was a lot of my generation that was missing from those events. There were the old school guys, and there was very little mid-school representation. And I didn't know you guys as well as like my dad did. My dad grew up looking at the magazines and seeing you guys. And so he had conversations to have with you. Whereas my conversation was more of, hey, I'm Jay. I'd like to get to know you. And I don't remember these pictures. I remember looking at magazines from time to time. But anyway, I just realized that my generation wasn't greatly represented. So then, I guess in that time, I had this idea, and I still have the idea, and I'll probably share it with you after the episode a little bit more in detail, because I'd like to bring it to reality at some point. But I went up to Bob Osborne's studio, and I went to have a conversation with him, and just basically pitching him the idea. And he was talking to me. I was talking about wanting to use my knowledge of marketing to help BMX tracks and help BMX as a whole grow. That went through a couple different evolutions of what we wanted to do. And ultimately, that conversation with Bob, and then I ended up meeting Toby Henderson in Montana, July of 22. Ended up having to hanging out for an evening, India and I did, with him and his wife. And we ended up having a really good time talking more and more. And the conversations that came out of that just led me to wanting to grow the sport. And I started seeing all of the character traits that I have as a result of racing BMX. And the big one that I continuously use the example of, seeing in my kids, was we were in Salt Lake City. We were coming north on our way to Montana to meet Bob Osborne. And we were coming up, we went to a BMX track called Rad Canyon. And after the race, the track operator said, "No, it's okay. Just stay in our parking lot for the evening." They were so helpful, so hospitable, and they left the lights on late for us. And he said, "You're here, you guys should ride." Well, my daughter, being 5 years old at the time, wanted me to ride. And I said, "I can't right now. I've got to get the trailer set up. Your brother's really tired. I'll ride after I get it set up." Well, as a 5-year-old, she goes over on her own and approaches the track operator. And he was putting stuff away. And she said, "Do you have your bike?" "I do." "Do you want to race me?" "I'd love to." And she approached this guy that she had never met, and she was confident in talking to him. And that's when I realized that that's just one of the many things that BMX creates as a sport, because there aren't a lot of other sports that would teach you to go and talk to someone who is, 30 years older than you, 40 years older than you, and have the confidence to just approach them with a question of, "Do you want to go ride bikes with me?" And she gets off the track and she's super excited. And she goes, "Dad, I beat him 3 times. And so anyway, from that, that led to a couple different iterations. The podcast is really phase 1 of this much bigger project and much bigger dream that we have, but really bringing attention and trying to bring eyeballs on the project and this idea to grow the sport at a fun-focused, local grassroots level, and really bring in people that are intentionally contributing to the growth of the sport.
Like I said, 2 peas in a pod, because that was the start of the Dirty Knobs podcast. Our own podcast was the same thing. The podcast wasn't our goal. The podcast was just the marketing arm, just a way to get the word out that really? That's how this all started. It all started as an idea I had about, I guess it was 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, was to have an event where we could get people together. Because the one thing you told me, I heard in your story, is that even this track operator, who was tired, ran a race all day long, was putting stuff, probably couldn't wait to get home, put his feet up, have something to eat. But instead, a little girl asked him to ride. And the reason he said absolutely yes was because we're all a big family. BMX is a big family. And there are BMX. Imagine what it would have happened had he said no. The different outcome that could have happened. Instead, because we're one big family, we care about each other, we always say yes. The friends that I've surrounded myself with, the people I have surrounded myself with, are all of the same type. We just say yes, and we make it happen because we're a big BMX family. And what I love about your story is that she came back bragging about beating him. There's no way, as a track operator, he's going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take her out in the first turn." It's about having a great experience, and I love that. Well, our podcast was the same thing. It was the marketing arm to let people know that we wanted to do an event to bring the family back together as best we can. And so, and that, you know, all the positives that come from that of rekindling friends and giving someone that may be lonely, that may be injured, that may be going through a tough time in their life, giving them something to look forward to, and rekindling a friendship, or giving them a way to voice or talk to people about their problems so that they don't feel alone. That was a big key of why we do what we do.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I
And
love that.
Yeah. So this event that we do is the big reason we do the podcast.
Yeah. And that event, well, okay, one side of that is that I'm going to have to tell my wife that she was 100% right, because she guessed that was the reason that the podcast started. And I didn't know. And I said, I don't know. I think it was just to have conversations with BMX people, but now I'm going to have to tell my wife. And now it's public knowledge that she wins this one. So
yeah, well, listen, one thing I've learned is the wives are always right. Even when we're right, they're right. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. That was the reason. That was the idea of why the podcast. And the podcast has taken on a life of its own, and we see the benefit of that. You know, we're capturing stories from these classic, you know, these old BMXers that, you know, so these stories, what we talk about is we want you to feel like you're sitting in the pits with us in 1984. You're trackside in 1977. You're hearing these stories, these backstories from these BMX icons and legends, and we're capturing them for historical purposes. They're somewhere now where everyone can hear them. And the side note is that, you know, in April you get to see all these people, or most of these people, in person. We bring them all. We try to bring them all together, and that was the end goal, was to bring them all together and share it with everybody. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's a way of giving back to what the sport gave us, which is that family feeling, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that sense of belonging to something. So that's what we do, and that's why we do it.
Well, that community feeling and what you were talking about of if somebody, you know, had gotten injured, or somebody's sick, somebody's going through something, and having those moments. And one of those moments that was just absolutely incredible last year at DirtyFest was again with my daughter, and you were handing out trophies. They had climbed up on the podium, and to take a moment to brag on Henry Soria is he took over and he said, you know, this little girl led us for a lap when Mike made us start backwards, and she almost led us the entire way down the track. And you know, and it's funny because at the same time, like, he's trying to pass her and trying to get past, but you can't take out a little kid. You got to be real careful. And so he finally got past her, and he ended up giving her his second place trophy. And then Gary Laurent ended up giving her the first place trophy. And it was just neat because it's a moment that, I don't know how much it meant to her, but I know that I was choked up watching it, just because it was all about the camaraderie.
Oh, brother, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And when those two guys put her on the top step of the podium, and the entire audience, everyone that was there, gave her the biggest round of applause and hoots and hollers, that's what I'm talking about. That family community, that we're all here for each other, man. That was awesome. That was one of the highlights of DirtyFest by far.
Oh, that's cool. It was such a moment for me, and it meant a lot to my dad, and just being there. And it was one of the continuous conversations of, it's just fun when you put people together that are all there to have a good time. There's no points on the line. It's bragging rights. If that, it's just really, we want to just have a conversation in the dirt.
I had a conversation with a family that had an issue with something at the races. And he said, you know, at the races, this should be happening. And I just said to them, I said, listen, if you folks are here for a serious race, you've come to the wrong place. We're here for a good time. That's the whole reason we're here, for a good time.
Yeah.
So, you know, and to anyone that may want to attend, it's going to be April 12th through the 14th at Velocity Bike Park at the KOA in Temecula, California. And we renamed it. It's the BMX reunion, because that's what it is. It's a family reunion for all of us. And it's a 3-day weekend full of just having a great time.
That's cool.
We've added some events to include more people. We've added a classic flatland and kick ramp freestyle show for Friday night with some of the biggest names of the first generation of freestyle riders. So it's going to be off the charts once again. You know, we're just going to try to outdo ourselves every year and make it more fun for everybody. That's what we do. That's what we're about. Having a good time, including all of our friends and family. And you, my friend, are family.
That means so much. I loved being at the event and being able to have my kids there, being able to stay at the campground. And I had never been there before. And so I had no idea how it was laid out, but being at the campground, being able to easily ride back and forth from the race to the trailer, being able to have the kids, they had a little bit of independence doing their own thing. And I mean, they still talk about it. So it's definitely a win.
It's a win for everyone that comes. It's because of how special the event is. And we're proud of what we're doing. We're happy to be doing it. And we're really looking forward to doing it this year because we've got one under our belt. We kind of know what to expect. Even though we expected to be twice the size, we know what to expect.
Yeah.
And last year we were figuring it out as we went along, and there wasn't a lot of sleep, but there was a whole lot of good times. Hey,
absolutely.
And you know what we do is our little contribution, and that's just part of what we do. And I got to tell you, one of the things I love about your podcast is you always talk about, well, what do you do at the local level? Because we're doing it, we're trying to do this as well. This year will be, last year was global. We had people come in from out of the country. This year, we have a lot of people coming in from out of the country. So it's beginning to become a global event. But what I love about your podcast is you size it down to the community. What are we doing in our local community? And this is where I get to brag a little bit, not on myself, but I have a partner. I am a USA BMX track operator, and I and my friend Gary Sharp, between the two of us, and like every BMX track, it only runs with a group of volunteers, or else it would fall apart. We have started a track here in Prescott Valley, Arizona, and so we're starting from scratch. And it's been fantastic to be able to give back at the local level and to see what a difference you make in your own little community, and taking this love of family and friends and starting a whole new little egg, incubating a little egg and watching it grow. Week after week, we get new faces, and the fact that we have this family of track operators across the country. And I tell you what, man, you ask any track operator a question, you're going to get the most supportive answer you can find. They're all gung-ho to help you to do things right. I've traveled to Western, California and Arizona and New Mexico, and went to I go to local tracks, just show up unannounced and just, hey, I'm a local track operator. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Man, they walk you right through. Oh, do this. Oh, don't do this. And it's been fantastic to grow the sport of BMX, like I said, from a tiny egg into what we're doing at my local level. It's been great.
Cool. Well, and like you said, going to other local tracks is so fun. That's my favorite thing to do. We've gone to a few nationals. It's never been a big part of my life, but going to local tracks, and I think I got to like 23 different tracks this year. And so getting to meet the community, the hospitality, getting to meet the people and have conversations and see what works. And there are a couple tracks that I've been to that just are not all that hospitable. They just aren't that eager to see you. They're very focused on the competition side, but going to the ones that are so focused on the fun, the family, the community is unlike anything else.
Well, let me tell you, I went up and visited Donnie Robinson up in Sonoma, California, and his program is off the charts. But it's because you cannot help but notice it. He's heart and soul into that thing, and what he does with the kids is incredible. I am just basically all I'm trying to do is copy Donnie. Just want to copy Donnie, which is not a bad thing to do. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a great guy. He's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame human being. He's a great dad, husband, pillar in the community. He's just a great guy. He's a hero of mine. And there's so many heroes in BMX that it's easy to find a good one. It's easy to find a good one.
Yeah. Donnie, having a conversation with him, and really what you had asked earlier about the podcast and what pushed me over the edge, I got to tell him this last week, was a conversation with Bill Ryan, or a couple weeks ago at Grands. And I talked to Bill Ryan, and I was sitting in his office, and I just reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm in the area. I would love to meet you. I've heard great things. A couple people told me that I need to know you. And so I ended up having a conversation with him, telling him about a little bit about what I want to do on the local level. And he said, you have to know Donnie. And reached out to Donnie, and Donnie was so supportive and so helpful and said, anything that I can do, let me know how to help you, how to support you. And I would love to be there. And obviously he was the first episode of the podcast that we did. And which I was so thankful for, because with there was no social proof for it. So it was just a concept, and to get him in, and I would love to go to his track. So that's on my list to go and visit as well.
Well, listen, when you say Donnie Robinson is a great guy, that list of names, if you said who are the greatest guys in BMX, you're going to put Bill Ryan on that same list. I don't know of anyone in the industry that's given back more to BMX than Bill Ryan. He is just, and on top of that, he's a champion of a human being too. You know, those guys are two peas in a pod, man. Those guys are two of the same. I love them both dearly, and they're both, again, heroes to me and examples to me of what you need to do to be a good guy. We call them a good egg. You're a good egg or not.
That's good. Yeah. Bill, being able to talk to him about fun in BMX is so cool, because he has a big heart for kids having fun and just being focused on let the kids race. I was talking to him about how my son Oliver will come around a little bit less now. He understands racing and the rules of it a little bit more. But all this last summer, he would come around the track and he could be in 6th, 7th place on a full gate. And he would cross the line, biggest smile. He always takes the best pictures. And he goes, Dad, did I win? You sure did, bud. And I told Brian that, or I told Ryan that, and I was talking to him, and he goes, at some point, some kid is going to tell him, you didn't win, you lost. And you're going to have to tell your son, nope, he lost. You're winning.
I'm going to tell you, I just shared that story not long ago about, that's a lesson my dad taught me. He said to me, hey, son, after a poor, I felt bad about not winning. And he said, son, just because you get first place doesn't make you a winner. How you act all the time. You can be a winner no matter how you finish. It's how you act. And so that was a huge lesson for me.
That's a big lesson that I also believe that BMX teaches, and which is so good to learn. It teaches you how to lose well and also how to win well. And we had actually that same moment at that track at Rad Canyon in Salt Lake. We were there, and we got done, and I had gotten a trophy. I think I had gotten second place, and Ashlyn had gotten a trophy, and Oliver didn't get one. And he started to get choked up, and he said, Dad, why didn't I get a trophy? And I remember telling that story to Bob Osborne, and he goes, that is a picture I want to take, of a dad being able to teach his son and be okay with the fact that his son didn't get a trophy. And not a lot of things teach that right now.
Actually, I'd say society tells you the opposite right now. So it's important that we have these messages for our children, the next generations, to learn these lessons, to become better, more rounded people.
Absolutely.
How to deal with adversity.
Yeah.
How to turn failure into motivation for success. That
It's
is
so good.
that's the key. That's the key to being a champion. I mean, I don't mind telling you, I sucked. I was absolutely terrible when I started racing BMX.
Really?
Terrible. Oh my gosh. I mean, beyond I was I love telling the story. Once again, my dad, my hero, he came to the track, he parked at the top of the second turn. I come down the gate, I'm in last place, and I look up and wave at him, and I'm in last place. I've got a big smile on my face. I'm having a blast out there. Second motor comes around, same thing. I'm come jumping and having a good time, and come around the turn. I look up and wave at my dad, and I go, third moto, I'm coming around. I'm in last place. I'm having a great time. I look up and my dad's not there. So I get back to get back after the moto, and my dad's gone. He left me at the track. He just left me. So I'd ride my bike home, and it was probably about 13 miles to my house. I rode my BMX bike home 13 miles. I got home and I said, Dad, what happened? And he goes, yeah, you're no good. I couldn't watch it. Couldn't watch you anymore. Oh, you're no good. And I'll tell you, it was a motivator. Oh man, my dad doesn't think I'm good. It was a motivator. Pushed my button, and I started practicing. Instead of just out jumping, I was practicing. I was practicing now to win races. So
wow.
Yeah, but I was not. I was happy with seventh and eighth. I mean, I got eighth, and I think I got eighth, and seventh. My first 6 months of racing. Okay. It was somebody fell and I would go around them, but I was the last place rider. Been having a time of my life.
Oh man, that's so funny that the way that your dad approached that, and the ability to disconnect. I mean, it's funny now because no parent I would think would think of leaving their kids 10 miles away.
I think this was 1976. So it was a long time ago. Parenting was a little different back then. I mean, nobody had seat belts. They were smoking in the car. It was just, the windows up. It was a different time.
Yeah.
But my dad coached me in another sport. So he knew how to push. He knew what to say or how to do to push my buttons. And he was, man, you couldn't ask for a better role model and a better guy. My dad was awesome.
That's cool. Okay. So I want to know a little bit more about that. So you got into racing. How old were you when you started racing? And then when did you finally start getting a little bit better? And then when did things take off a little bit more?
It was a long road. I started when I was, I think, 13, and it was part of a junior high school BMX program. So in September of I think it was seventh grade, the PE coach said, "Hey, you guys out there that ride your bikes, we're going to have BMX racing this weekend. You can be on a team and you race for the school. If you're in seventh grade, you race the seventh graders. If you're in eighth grade, you race the eighth graders." So all of the junior high schools in our neighborhood, in our town and the surrounding towns, all met at the BMX track, and we raced. And that's how I started. Yeah. And so it didn't matter if you were beginner, novice, or expert. You just raced seventh grade. And no wonder I was getting smoked. Oh man.
I think we should implement that again. I think, junior high schools, whatever, just meet up and do BMX racing on the field.
Well, welcome to the BMX League.
It'd be great. Yeah. Absolutely.
I really enjoyed it. I loved it. A good friend of mine it was funny. I wasn't even paying attention. Typical. I wasn't paying attention. and when he had made that announcement, my friend, Richard Kerr, who we're dear friends to this day, he elbows me and goes, "Hey, you're racing." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're racing." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." I had no idea, but it was a great way to start. And like I said, I learned through adversity because I wasn't good. I just kept trying. And so that went on for, oh man, this is going to sound terrible. Started in September. I got my first trophy in February, and it was a consolation trophy. If you got fourth in the semi and you didn't make the main, you got a trophy. And so they gave me a trophy, a consolation trophy, because you almost made the main. So you got a trophy. I don't know why, but it's sitting behind me on a shelf next to my Nora cup. And that was my first trophy. It's the only trophy I kept. It's a source of pride because it's also a source of embarrassment that I raced so long and never got a trophy because I was terrible. it's a reminder to me of you can persevere. You can, and you're looking for increments of growth, signs of some success, something to build on. And man, it was a lot of building, a lot of building. But so I raced for quite a while and did well at the local, started off bad, did a little bit better, started riding with better riders, started implementing training instead of just riding with my friends, and became a okay at the local level, good enough to where somebody wanted to sponsor me. And that just led to one incremental step into the next one, till finally I had the ability and the opportunity to travel the world as a professional. And wow. And then from early from that point on, all the lessons my dad taught me, and all the great men that were men and women in my life that gave me other valuable lessons, gave me the opportunity to pass those along the way. And I'm basically the same guy I've been since I was 15. Nothing's changed. The beard maybe, but that's about it. All those life lessons are the same things I do today.
That's cool. Which I think it is another testament to the way that BMX teaches and creates just phenomenal humans, or, in the way that BMX helps to shape people in general. And the things that you learn are things that you've taken, that I've taken, that my kids will take the rest of their lives and be able to take with them and contribute to other areas of life, not just racing. So valuable.
Yeah, exactly right. This is BMX. The gift that BMX gave me was the opportunity to learn some good lessons and to be able to share them. And that's all I'm here for. That's my purpose in life, is to make the world better. If it's by one good deed or one good passing one lesson on, so be it. But that's my purpose in life. And I've been blessed to give the opportunity to do it. And that's awesome. And being on this podcast is a big one, man. So I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you again, man. That is nothing short of an honor to hear and to have. And I'm so thankful to be able to talk to you, because like you mentioned earlier, and I want to dive into it a little bit more, you got to travel the world as a pro athlete. You got to race on that level. People know who you are, but you had a desire to be a track operator in your community, and that recently started up. I don't know if the dream has been pending for a little while and you've been working on that, but tell me about why you have such a desire to help out at that local level and how you became the track operator and such.
Once again, having a smarter wife.
I got one of those.
Yeah, listen, behind every semi-successful guy is a smart wife. So she is the one that saw that they were having a grand opening of a BMX track. And I was like, well, there's no BMX track here. And she said, yeah, there's one opening. So the next day we went over there to check it out. And it was put on by the local youth facility, and they didn't have any idea what they were doing. They were just trying to do something. And like I said, my partner Gary Sharp and I both stepped in and have taken over the facility, taken over the BMX race. And so we've improved everything and made it a legit race. They had no starting gate. It had 3 inches of silt on the track. It wasn't really a BMX racetrack, but through our hard work and the hard work of all the volunteers and families in the local area, we've grown this thing into something that's real. We actually have our last race of the year, which is 2 nights from now, is a double pointer. We expect hundreds of riders. It's going to be great. But the reason I did it was because our community of Prescott Valley, the Tri-City area up here, didn't have anything like it. And I know that if you want kids to get in trouble, all you have to do is give them a lot of free time. They'll find trouble. So we're trying to give back to our community, to build something for not just kids, but for families, to do something together. And that's why we do this. We want to encourage families So, we have fleets of bikes and helmets. And whenever we have a kid that comes out to the track for the first time and the parent goes to send them down the track, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We've got a cruiser for you and a helmet for you. Let me take a picture of you two doing this together, because that is, it's about the family, not just our family, but your family. And so we try to get a picture of them together. And then next thing you know, our biggest class is the dad's cruiser class, because we get the dads hooked. But we encourage moms, dads, and I've taken a page out of Donnie Robinson's book, and that we have community time on the track where we encourage everyone just to come out and ride. So
That's cool.
it's about getting families together, having a good time and a great experience together, and that just builds in our community.
There aren't many sports where you can compete with your kids, and on the same track. You think of football as an example. You're not going to play on the same field as your 5-year-old. You're not going to play on the same day or compete at the same time. And so BMX is one of those events where you can. My dad started racing around when he was in his as an early teenager, and then he took some time away from it, brought me into it when I was 6 years old. I started racing, and then I took some time away from it, and my dad raced when I was a kid, and then now my dad's racing, and there's 3 generations of our family out on the track.
That is so awesome. Oh man, that's so awesome.
It's pretty fun because it just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen with other sports. And like I've told other people, because I advocate for people to go to DirtyFest, for people to go to Frogtown, because I think that those events are so helpful too, because I think it's fun and helpful and encouraging and kind of cool to see where the sport came from. But also, there really aren't many sports where you can meet the original pros or the founders of an entire sport.
That's true. And you see them in the wild. They're just having a good time. It is really the one thing our event is, if you come to DirtyFest and you want to be serious, just turn around. Just turn around. Just don't come.
Yeah.
We want you to come to have a great time. That's what we're about. Just come and have a great time.
Which is cool. Yeah. And I mean, I've told people before, and my wife makes jokes about it all the time. I'm a terrible fanboy, just because I don't really care on the stardom side. It's never really been that much that interesting to me. Who somebody is as a star. I would much rather get to know somebody on a personal level, and these events are a lot like that. And the day that I met Toby Henderson, and we were hanging out, and we ended up having some drinks for a while. And I told him the same thing. I was like, I'm a terrible fanboy. Like, I'm not interested in all the accolades and things that you have given to your name. Like, I want to know who you are. Like, why are you interested in riding bikes? What makes you tick? What gets you excited every day? Like, that kind of thing. I'm way more interested. And at some of these old school events, there's so much time to talk and have conversation and have community and build relationship, that's what you get to do.
Well, you're going to find in BMX, it's overwhelmingly filled with good people. And again, I've been so blessed to have all these great people in my life. And to this day, I mean, I have surrounded myself by sheer luck, being surrounded by great people that are just kind-hearted, thoughtful, and care about others. And that's just been a blessing. I mean, from my beginning in BMX all the way to today, the people that are at the track, I'm still in the bike industry. I still work in the bike industry. I work for a company that is like-minded. Our CEO, everyone I work with, the company, it's Marin Bikes. And we do we have so many ambassador programs and advocacy programs because, again, I'm surrounded by people that are like-minded, that want to give back and be good to the community. So again, what a charmed life. How lucky am I? How lucky am I? Cool. Yeah.
So
it just keeps on going on. It just keeps on.
That's so cool. And I was curious about that because we've talked about that a little bit, the bike industry side. Have you spent time since racing? Have you spent time out of the bike industry? Obviously, Marin isn't BMX, but it's still bike industry. Have you spent time away from the bike industry?
Yeah, I've left the bike industry twice, and got luckily I got dragged right back in. I love it. I do love the bike industry, but yeah, I've spent time outside of the bike industry, and I learned a little bit more about different businesses and how they run, and it has made me a better, more rounded person. But it also makes me better in the bike industry, and so I'm very, very grateful for those opportunities. But this is where I belong.
That's neat. Yeah, being able to contribute to something I think that's so valuable, and BMX racing is kind of the beginning of this whole thing and the podcast, but even beyond BMX racing is what I've said to a few people. I said it in the Mike Carruth episode, is that my goal is that in 20, 30 years, my kids love riding bikes. I don't care if they're racing. The kids that are at the track right now that are coming into BMX racing, I don't necessarily care if they're still racing. I want them to be outside on their bikes, riding around, and whether that's a skate park or, dirt jumping, a mountain bike, BMX track, it doesn't really matter. But being on bikes is so valuable because it gives kids a sense of freedom. You were talking about keeping kids out of trouble. That's what a bike did for me. And
same here. Great. And the one thing that we've said it several times as family, it's something a family can do together. And when families get to do things together, they stay together. So we want that to happen. We want kids on bikes, because kids on bikes lead to parents on bikes, and kids and parents together on bikes. If we can get that, that's we've done it.
Yeah.
We've done our work. We're successful.
To your comment about the families on bikes and being able to push those dads, being able to push those parents to jump on a cruiser. Here, we got a bike for you. We want to take a picture of you guys doing this together. And that just doesn't happen in a lot of places. But the value of that, the quality family time, the way that parents can do that together, the way that parents have an understanding of how much harder riding a bike and racing a bike actually is than just pedal.
we say that. We always say, I always wait for the mom or dad to come around the last turn, and when they come out of past the finish line and they're wheezing, I go, yeah. Now you see. Yeah. It's a whole different perspective now. Yeah, it's great.
One of the worst moments that I experienced was this last year. And I saw it, like, as a kid. I remember having a friend that got yelled at a lot and in racing. And then this year I was at a national, and a kid crossed the finish line, and it was Saturday. The kid crossed the finish line, and mom was just over the moon ecstatic. This kid was probably 10 years old, so excited for him. And I think he had gotten, top 3 in his main. Well, next day, exactly 24 hours later, he crosses the finish line in his semi, maybe. And she comes over and like, what is wrong with you? You should have been pedaling. You should have been. And I thought, man, that kid's just going to hate his bike because it's so focused on that competition, and you're not out there. You don't know. And there's so much value to something just being fun, and kids being able to love something and have the joy for it. And yeah, I'm proud of my kids racing, but one thing that I try to be really careful of is that they don't think that their value is just because they're racing, and wanting to make sure that they know that I'm proud of them regardless, but it's not just because you performed at a high level. It's about having fun. Did you have fun first? Okay, that's cool. Okay, did you win? Right on. That's cool too.
Or you didn't win. Okay, well, what did you learn? Yeah. It's okay that you didn't win, but what did you learn? It's fantastic. I'm just grateful that I had BMX in my life. I'm grateful to Ernie Alexander from the NBA, who gave us a place to race for Merle and Gene from the ABA, who gave us a place to race. Bob Tedesco from the NBL gave us a place to race. And now I am so grateful to the USA BMX sanctioning body, because not only do they give me a place, but now they give me the opportunity to pass it back again. So, you gotta give credit to where credit is due. I couldn't be doing this on my own. It's part of a family, and the USA BMX helps provide that opportunity for me and for my community. So it's just, you have to recognize it. Gratitude. This is the most important thing I'm going to say on this podcast. Once again, I can't take credit. It's my dad. My dad told me, and he taught me, and it's what I live by. He said the secret to happiness is gratitude. And I'm going to tell you, there's anything more powerful than that. Is if you can just realize that to be grateful for what you have, you'll be much happier. You can, people see the glass half empty or half full. I see it shining and overflowing with bubbly goodness. That's just the way I was brought up. Where we both know guys that see the glass not only half empty but chipped and cracked. And I just get more out of life, and it motivates me to give more back to life, because I am grateful.
That's cool. And it's so valuable for people and for adults and for kids to be able to see you in that place of gratitude for the industry, for the sport, being able to stand in front of them and be out on the track. And I'm so excited to be able to visit your track one of these days. It hasn't worked out yet, but I want to come down there.
You're always welcome. We're going to close for the winter because we're outside and we're up, we're up in temperature. We're going to get snow. So we close for the winter. We don't know when we open again, but when we do, we're going to have a brand new program. We're going to have BMX League. We're going to have all kinds of new stuff going on, because our motivation just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. We love what we're doing. And again, it's not, I can't say it's we, because this thing it's a community effort, and we're all reaping the benefits from it. The family.
That's awesome. That's cool. And then like you said earlier, we are getting closer to DirtyFest. We've got DirtyFest 2024, which again is in Temecula, April 12th through 14th. And if you haven't been, you have to go. I tell so many people, you need to be at DirtyFest just because it's a good time.
Oh man. Just go to dirtyfest.com. It'll give you the story. It'll give you everything you need. We, again, the premium is on having fun and knowing that you're part of a bigger family.
Yeah.
Jay Oaks, you are part of our family, my man.
Man, I'm so excited. It's so cool. It's like, I feel like I want to make a t-shirt. I will get the t-shirt. It's kind of like a family reunion t-shirt, except the t-shirts are actually cool at DirtyFest. Yep. So,
this year's t-shirt, it says BMX reunion. Yeah.
Love that.
It's accurate. It is what it is. Man, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see your dad. I can't wait to see your kids. Can't wait to see, the whole family.
We will be there. Actually, okay, the last question that I have for you before we go is that in your text to me last night, you included to talk about being bullied by taco truck enablers. I want to know about this. Who are these taco truck enablers?
I swear, anywhere I go, they seem to just creep out on these corners right in my eyesight. They're terrible people. Terrible people. I can't seem to shed this weight due to those taco truck enablers.
Yeah, they've got your number.
There should be a taco truck app.
There should. Oh man, yeah. Then you can just it's like dial a taco. Yeah, it's like dial a ride.
Just the light. You put it on your map and it blinks as to closest taco truck. Oh man, I don't need it. I can sniff them out.
Oh. Yeah, you'll find them regardless. I mean, that's what you do.
It's a rare talent, but I have
it. Everybody's got to have a thing. That's what I always say. Everybody's got to have a thing. We have to have a thing that you got to spend money on, and then you got to have a thing that you're known for. And that can be your thing that you're known for, on top of, BMX and stuff. So,
well, I'm a BMXer at heart, always have been, always will be. And just grateful that we have this opportunity to give something back to the thing that's given so much to us, and including you, Jay. I really am grateful that you've given me this opportunity, and dude, you're a superstar.
Mike,
Keep up the great work. Keep up the great work.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to get to hang out again come April. And thank you again for being a part of this conversation. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode. It is because of people like you and our sponsors who make this whole thing possible, because they have a desire to see the sport grow. If you would like to get involved in the mission of BMX Breakthrough, you can start by going to your local track, find a way to volunteer, help out, and serve there. Or you can go to our website, bmxbreakthrough.com, in order to donate, find out about sponsorship, or learn more.